Hey guys, Liana here. This video is gonna seem more like a Feedback Friday or a Tatas Tuesday video, but it's Wednesday. I decided to do this today because this is something that happened today. It's fresh. It's gonna be more entertaining for people because you'll get me when I'm good and pissed off, not when I've sort of calmed down and more philosophical about it. I think in this case, uh, being pissed off is warranted because very few things irritate the shit out of me like faux intellectualism. And this article that I retweeted on Twitter, of course I retweeted it on Twitter. That's the only place you can retweet things. But the responses I got to retweeting this article were so abusive and idiotic. I don't know. Abusive. I just triggered half the fucking internet using the word abusive, okay? Abusive does not just mean physically abusive or sexually abusive people. It is a perfectly good word to say when someone is being a dick, okay? So settle the fuck down and don't get stuck in your overly narrow definitions of things. This is the fucking potholes of the internet are overly narrow definitions of things. People take a word and they think they own the word. They think they own the definition of the word. Like a word cannot have more than one meaning and evolving meaning at that. Language changes. Meanings of words change from region to region and time period to time period. It fucking happens. Deal, you fucking anal retentive sons of bitches. And I think you can tell I'm angry at this point because there is disagreement and there is rudeness. Disagreement, I'm great with. I love a great debate. You may notice from my Twitter feed. Twitter feed? Yeah, it's more like that. Just people pissing all over things. Twitter feed. Freudian slip for the win. But, you know, there's debate, and debate is great. Debate's how you learn things. Being challenged is how you learn things. And then there's Twitter peeds. There's people just pissing all over shit to show how smart and superior they are because they're insecure little fucking trolls that have nothing else in their pathetic little existences. So the preamble I put, for full disclosure, I'm going to read it. I have it on my phone here. I said, an interesting breakdown of why creators should use sexual violence as a story device with caution. Some shocking stats. That was my setup. People said things like, it's shocking how gullible you are. This article is debunked. I am disappointed in you. I am saddened you fell for this. Yeah, guys, I fell for a piece of op-ed writing. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's op-ed writing, not a test. It's not a practical joke. It's not an April Fool's Day prank. It is a piece of op-ed writing I found provocative and challenging, and it made me think. Why did it make me think? Because, as I stated, it's an interesting breakdown of why creators should use sexual violence as a story device with caution. Not don't use it. Caution. Caution does not mean don't use. Caution means use carefully. This should not be a big controversial statement. But I forgot the potholes of the internet. I forgot how people turn into slavering fucking morons the minute statistics come into it. Because statistics, they think, are immutable. And they can only be used in one way. And there is truth in statistics. Statistics is mother. Statistics is father. Statistics is God. Statistics is the state. Statistics is all. Statistics cannot lie. Yeah, they can. They can be used in different ways to show different points. And the problem is with writing like this, that is actually pretty nuanced. It's Wired. It's Wired, okay? It's a professional publication. The first pitfall people get into is they dismiss a piece of writing like this. It's just shit writing. It's obviously shit writing. Sounded like Sean Connery right there. Wow, what does that say? But it's just shit writing. It's bad writing. It's bad writing. Says the person who's never written a fucking published piece in their life. They have no idea what goes into submitting a piece for publication or the editing process. Shit writing, guys, doesn't end up in Wired. Okay? There is an editorial process. The shit writing is screened out. It may not be Pulitzer Prize winning, but it is not shit writing. And if you dismiss something in a professional publication as little more than shit writing, you're the one with the problem. It is categorically untrue. These sites are for profit. People are paid. There is a basic level of ability that must go in for someone to accept this piece. It may be mediocre writing. It is not shit. So you start going down that path, you're a faux intellectual. You are full of shit. And there is absolutely no reason to listen to somebody who starts off that way in a piece about a piece that appeared in Wired. That is, for the number of complaints that people say that people write things like this article just to outrage, saying something shit writing is just being deliberately contradictory. There are no typos. There are no grammatical errors. The sentences make sense. If it was shit writing, it would be something on someone's blog that didn't even make a point. This is actually a very good piece of writing. Disagree with it if you will. Structurally and technically, it is a very good piece of writing. Why? Because it's a professional website! I have a real issue with people thinking they can talk with any sort of authority about a profession they know nothing about. And writing is one of those things that people think because they can read, they can comment on what is good writing or bad writing. Unless you've actually written something and attempted to publish it, you don't know the first fucking thing about good op-ed writing or bad op-ed writing. You're an armchair enthusiast. You're not a professional critic. You have no real reason to be able to judge whether a piece of writing is good. You are ignorant of the process. But let's get into this horrible piece of shit writing that was written just to clearly outrage people. That's the other thing I got. Clearly just designed to outrage. Why? Because it involves sexual assault? Because it talks about lazy writing? What exactly is the outrageous statement here? Rape scenes aren't just awful. Oh God, that's outrageous! No, wait, it's not. Rape is awful. It's awful. It is. Like, that's why it's used in certain ways. Yes, Loki. Loki agrees. But let's get into this awful piece of horrible writing. So they set it up, and, op-ed pieces always have an induction paragraph. And I think this is a pretty good one. By now, it's almost a ritual. A movie or TV show, probably Game of Thrones, depicts a woman being raped, is greeted by a furious criticism on the internet, which slowly dies down until the next rape when the cycle begins anew. Okay. Over the next several decades, rape has evolved from a topic that was neither depicted in pop culture nor talked about publicly to a frequent, even overused plot point in movies and TV shows. It's also become the center of a fierce debate about when portraying rape as in fiction is unnecessary, manipulative, and even harmful, especially when it feeds into real-life misconceptions about sexual assault that are often used to deprive rape survivors of legitimacy or justice. Oh yeah, that's goddamn awful writing right there. No, that's a good opening paragraph. It sets it up. This is what we're talking about. And it uses details like Game of Thrones to give people who are just coming into this cold and may not necessarily understand the topic something that they can relate to. Game of Thrones is a popular show, so that detail, people are like, oh, okay, I get it. This is one of the things that's different between academic writing and op-ed writing. Academic writing has to use specificity because they're going for accuracy. Op-ed writing uses things like probably Game of Thrones, instead of specifically saying Game of Thrones, because instead of going for specificity, op-ed writing goes for accessibility. The goal is to persuade, not to prove. And that's an important distinction. And then this is the paragraph that really grabbed me in this horrible piece of shit writing that has made me disappoint numerous people on the Twitter. Half the time, people can't even seem to figure out how to define rape, let alone portray it in responsible ways. Indeed, one of the most baffling things about so many rape scenes in popular culture is that the people who scripted them felt qualified to do so, despite seemingly knowing nothing about rape except that it exists and it is bad. In short, anyone can write a rape scene, but should they? Chances are the answer is no. And that I found very thought-provoking. That yes, if somebody writes a movie about baseball, they're expected to know something about baseball. If somebody writes a movie about, Mexicans crossing into the U.S., illegally, they're expected to have done some research on it. This is one of those topics that people, how do I put this? We have our stories about sexual assault. And so instead of actually looking into the realities, the statistics, the support groups, talking to people who have experienced it, people just borrow the pre-existing myths on the subject instead of finding out firsthand for themselves the realities, the actual, facts about a very difficult situation. And so we get these things called rape myths. For instance, rape only happens to women and rape probably will happen to women, that it's normalized and all that stuff. We get those because it's just stuff that people repeat to each other. Everybody just keeps making the assumptions. No one checks out to see if it's actually true. And so the article goes on from there. I'm not going to read all of it to you because that would be long and boring. I want to jump to the point that multiple people threw a complete hairy shit kitten's conniption fit over the stupidest reason. Here we go. Down we go. Let me find it. Oops. Zoom. See, it's trying to avoid it because it's that dumb. It's that dumb. Where is it? Oh, wow. It really jumped. Nope. Come on! Damn it. It doesn't want to do it. There we go. A small but terrifying study conducted on college-age males earlier this year found that around 1 in 3 men said they would be willing to rape a woman if there were no consequences, but only if you didn't call it rape. Note the introduction, a small. Let's zoom in on that. Small. The word says small. Small but terrifying. Why did people immediately junk the whole freaking article? Because the study was small. Debunked! Ha! Gotcha! Oh! Internet wins! Oh! We found you out! Laura Hudson, I think that's her name. I just pulled that out of thin air. We found you out. You used a study that was small. But she said it was small. And she's not writing this from an academic perspective. She's not, stop it, follow on Facebook. She's not trying to say that empirically all men, 1 in 3 of all men would be willing to rape a woman if there were no consequences, but only if you didn't call it rape. This small, she is taking an example like Game of Thrones as an example, not as empirical evidence, to explain the concept of gray rape and rape. That, that thing that crops up when, we start talking about reproductive health and abortions after rape. And certain politicians say, well, when it's really a rape, the female body has ways of taking care of that stuff. So if a woman gets pregnant from rape, it's not a real rape. There were numerous examples she could have used there. The point is not to determine empirically, because this is not academic. Again, not attempting to prove, attempting to persuade. And she's not saying, well, it's a problem in 1 in 3 men. No, that's not what she's saying. She's explaining something qualitatively, like this is the issue. That for these men, not all men, these men, the resistance or disinterest of women was viewed as insincere, inconsequential. When you're using a qualitative example, even an anecdotal example, you're not saying all of any group. You're saying the people in this study. So it doesn't matter how big it is. She could be talking about 3 men and 1 said it. That's not the point. She's using this for color. Okay, the point here is that the disinterest of women was viewed as insincere, inconsequential, and the use of force or coercion was seen as acceptable or a gray area. She's trying to explain a term to people, not prove her case. She's not writing about rape in the real world, folks. She's talking about rape used as art. She is talking about rape myth, not the realities of rape. Because of this freak out, this knee jerk that people have. Should she perhaps have used a different example? Yes, I don't like using studies in op-ed work precisely for this reason, because I find them to be a distraction. I write op-ed for my opinion. I like using examples. I like using popular culture examples so people can understand where I'm coming from. The minute you start quoting studies, people put on their little armchair scientist hat and act like fucking morons, showing how not smart they are. Because they miss qualifiers like small. She said it was small. So you can't dismiss her argument because it's a small study when she's already said it's a small study. You can say you're not convinced. That's fine. But saying the opinion is debunked or that it's bad writing, no. She said it's small. And this single thing was, the statistics are garbage. And another thing somebody criticized was quoting another journalist, this quote here. If you use another journalist's words, folks, without attribution, that's called plagiarism. If you're going to quote somebody because if you think it's a useful turn of phrase and you don't think you can do better, you have to say they said it. So saying, a journalist quoting another journalist, lazy writing. That's what somebody actually said. That's what somebody actually wrote and pressed tweet. No, it's not lazy writing. You have to do it. This is not using a point of fact. This is saying, I like this phrase. I like the way she said it. I'm going to use it, but I'm going to give her credit. That's the way it's done, folks. You can't cut that corner. You can't use someone else's words as your own. So when you realize you're on a track where you're like, I am using this person's idea, even if you're not directly quoting them, you have to attribute them, because otherwise it's not your writing, it's their writing, and they deserve the credit. They did the work coming up with the idea. And things like this really bother me because there's a lot of public critique of journalists and op-ed writers now. And criticisms like this tell me that these people critiquing us, just flaming the shit out of us whenever they think we fuck up, can't actually tell a fuck up from what we're supposed to be doing. And this is really unfortunate because part of the thing about being in any form of media is the minute people understand what you do, it stops being something they really want to pay for. So you know that people are, buying the illusion. But at the same time, when you're doing this sort of quasi-fact-based stuff like you are in op-ed writing, this sort of media illiteracy becomes a real problem because it's garbage, it's shit writing, is just something, it ends up on Reddit or ends up on one of the chans, and it just becomes something people can repeat. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because people don't want to read. Reading is hard. I like videos. Make a YouTube. I like Vidya, press controller. I reading. Read anime. Hentai. I mean, that's the level of the people we are being fucking judged by. I wish I was exaggerating, but Tell me about the rabbits, George, is a literary reference that people don't even fucking get anymore. So, this is the... Stop that! This is the horrible bit of writing that is debunked and horrible, and to me, I think the reactions that these so-called lofty intellectuals had was a knee-jerk, self-conscious, emotional reaction because, as the article says here, rape is widely acknowledged as a very serious topic. So as soon as it comes up, a lot of people go, not me, not me, not me, no, not rapist, not rapist, no rapist here. What? No, maybe he raped somebody, but not me. No rape here, no rapist. I may have watched, one of those pornos once, but no, I know it wasn't real. No, all consensual. I'm not really having sex anyway. Nobody will do it with me. But no, totally not a rapist. Okay, that's what people do. It's like, danger, and people flip the fuck out. And getting over that reaction, getting over that, get it away, man, get it away, is very important to helping rape survivors heal and get back into society. Because imagine you're a survivor of rape. And imagine that something has happened to you that is so horrible, people flip the fuck out the minute you start talking about it. That's a horrendously shitty place to be in. You are a downer by your very fucking existence. And after you've had that freak out reaction done a few times, you stop talking about it and you start feeling ashamed about it because you don't want to be an inspiration for that kind of reaction in people. You don't want to see people start acting like fucking insensitive morons and start swearing and flipping out because of something that is part of your truth. It is part of your reality. It happened. You can't make it unhappen. And to get closure from any traumatic event, people have to be able to engage in it and talk about it. And when people flip their shit over rape the way they do, they deny survivors the ability to process their own experience. And that doesn't mean people should be putting their rape experiences on the internet, because people are assholes. And, this doesn't mean that every story about rape or involving a rape has to come from the perspective of the person who was raped. It means that we have to stop freaking out about it. We have to stop treating rape as a fate worse than death. It's not. You are still alive, and where there is life, there is hope. And that's what this paragraph is about. And the people that flipped out over this article proved the point. Good going, Wired. Good social experiment. But, they say it's used as a cheap shock tactic, and that too often the media uses something bad happened to her in the past as a shorthand for, rape. And I agree that, as I say, millions of other bad things happen to women every day. I really get sick of especially female action heroines having to have a rape in their backstory. And that's where, the video game thing, because yes, I have to tie everything to video games. I was really bothered by that moment in the first Tomb Raider game. Not bothered as in, oh, it traumatized me. I thought it was lazy. In that first Tomb Raider game, we're in the middle of a freaking gunfight or fight or something like that. The creepy dirtbag generic enemy goes up to Lara Croft and is all like, and touches your arm. He touched your arm. And it's obviously, a big bad male predator. And and it's gross. Shit like that has no place in a Tomb Raider game, as far as I'm concerned. I think that physical harm for a Lara Croft story is part of it. But I think we need to keep the sexual violence out of the Tomb Raider franchise, or the implications of male predatory behavior, because the alpha dog in that franchise is Lara Croft. She's the get the shiny. She's the hunt down the prey at all costs. We can't confuse things. Not every story featuring a beautiful, dynamic, action-driven woman has to have some sort of implication of sexual violence. I thought it was a creative mistake. And it was a tiny thing. Yes, it was. So it was a tiny creative mistake, but I still remember it. And these are the reasons why I find this article so compelling, because some of the things it did was contextualized for me why I had that reaction. And I wish more people would take the time to figure out, why am I having this emotional reaction, before they get on Twitter and start going, your reaction, Liana, made me very sad. I'm very disappointed that you didn't see through this terrible writing. Who the fuck are you to be disappointed in me? What the fuck disappointed? You weren't pointed. You can't be disappointed. What the fuck? Where the fuck do people get off talking like that to somebody they don't even know? I did not disappoint you, you fucking arrogant son of a bitch. You don't even know me. You have nothing to do with me. If you're disappointed by strangers on the internet, you must spend your entire fucking life crying into your wank hanky. Okay? You masturbate and then you cry. And you masturbate and then you cry. If you're that easily disappointed, like, that stuff on your face is not snot. It's probably your own jizz because you got confused. And this response, I'm sure you can see, is how annoyed I am. So I think I'm going to stop on a picture of Green Lantern. That's the women in refrigerators thing. Look it up. I'm not interested in explaining it. But hopefully you got a chuckle out of this, because I tried to make it somewhat funny. Because this is a difficult thing to talk about. And the people that are going to be angry over what I said are going to be angry anyway. The people that are going to be offended by the way I chose to tackle this topic in this way were going to be offended because I dared to talk about this. Because it's like, get it away, man! Get it away! The thing I talked about, because, I've seen some of the stuff that people look at, and 50 Shades of Grey, super popular, so a lot of people have some guilt about this topic, because I guess they've drank the Kool-Aid that media is reality and reality is media. It's not. If you're curious about, rape fiction, this is rape fiction, this is what I'm writing about, that's cool. If you want to get in that headspace and explore it for whatever reason in art, as long as it's self-aware art, as long as it's like, if somebody says, yeah, I wrote a rape, and it was a rape, and there was a reason for it being a rape, then fine. But when you do shifty things like, the Game of Thrones thing I mentioned in this article, where it's like, oh, she really liked it in the end, is what it came down to. I can't friggin' find it. There I go. Filmed a rape scene after season 4 without realizing it is a rape scene, even though the female character says no and stop while her assailant pushes her down saying, I don't care. It becomes consensual by the end. See, this is when it's a problem. Okay, this is when it's a problem, not when it's actual a rape fantasy, not when it's, one of those bodice ripper Harlequin romance novels. Everybody knows what those are. Okay, it's when it becomes consensual by the end. Is even uttered? Houston, we have a problem. Seriously. And I'm sure people are, it's not like that. It's not really like that. He was misquoted. It's drunk. It's no good. Come on, guys. Come on. You're actually going to look at this and insist that this is not cause for concern. I don't use the word problematic because I am an op-ed writer. I am not an academic writer, and problematic is something for a specific academic term. Just like in Ghostbusters, we don't cross the streams. Remember that with your crying wank hanky time.